both parties, all parties must refrain from taking steps that could affect the status of Jammu and Kashmir. This is, I think, the very important part of how we look at the case. Of course, concerning Afghanistan, as I mentioned in the meeting today, there are many countries in the world. All countries think they are the most important country in the world. And if you look from their perspective, it is true. But some countries are more important. Pakistan is important. Afghanistan is important. Afghanistan, if we can solve the Afghanistan issue, it cannot be limited to Afghanistan. It will have a regional effect, it will have a worldwide effect. So I think what Pakistan is doing, together with Turkey and Afghanistan, is very important. If we don't do it now, then when we come back at a later stage, we will find a different picture. It will be more complicated, more difficult to solve. In diplomacy, in politics, it's always like that. If you miss an opportunity and you decide to come back later, you will find that it is looking different. So I think it is timely, and we appreciate your efforts. We hope that you will come with a success. Not everybody in the world can understand why Pakistan loves Turkey and Turkey loves Pakistan. This is not economic or built on financial reasons. It's from the heart. It just came out, and we lived for decades like that. So as a president from Turkey, I have an obligation. I thought I had an obligation before taking office, and also while I'm the president, to this beautiful country. And my mask is today tied. And also, I'm really honored for tonight's ceremony, which I will accept it on behalf of the United Nations, and it is showing that United Nations and Pakistan are working together. Pakistan is honoring the United Nations, and through the President of the General Assembly, I think it's a very important message that will be given, and it will be an honor which I will carry throughout my life. I thank the government and also the President for choosing me for that honor. Of course, the Prime Minister's charisma and widespread sympathy in the world is important for Pakistan. I think what he's doing with the tree plantation programs, putting into effect the difficulties countries are facing vis-à-vis the debt issues, and also dealing with COVID in this country comparatively much better than many other countries is remarkable. And I think reaching 10 billion trees in some years' time is a very ambitious looking but very correct project. Why Islamabad is so green? Islamabad is impressing everybody coming here is because these type of decisions are taken. And we have the Pakistani permanent representative, Ambassador Minur Akram, as the president of the ECOSOC. He's doing a great job there. And many of these issues are dealt in the ECOSOC platforms. And he has finalized or finalizing his tenure with a lot of important issues. And one is this one. I think the problem is for some countries not debt postponement, but debt elimination completely. If a country cannot pay, what's the use of postponing it? So We will have an LLDC SITS conference with the ECOSOC president before the summer. We will have for the middle income countries. So these are all, I think, and we will be very happy to see Minister yourself or the Prime Minister coming to New York to honor us and give some political perspective to these important issues. Thank you so much for giving this possibility, and I wish you all the best yourself and to Pakistan as a whole. Long live Pakistan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We can now take some questions. I would request if you could kindly introduce yourself, your news outlet, and also indicate whom your question is addressed to. Adil Bashir.
My name is Adil Bashir and representing Rose News Network. I have a question from Mr. President, UNGA, High Excellency Volkan Bozkır. How does UN see the Kashmir dispute in line with relevant UN resolutions?
Sorry.
How does UN see the Kashmir dispute in line with relevant UN resolutions?
Well, I think I explained the UN position in that respect. And I think what I have said is very clear. As an impartial President of the General Assembly, wait until I come back after the 15th of September.
Zarghun.
Thank you, sir. My question is addressed to both of the dignitaries. First to the Foreign Minister. Sir, no doubt Israel has committed brazen human rights violation, and Mr. Netanyahu stands an established war criminal. Does Pakistan as well as Turkey intend to approach the International Court of Justice? Thank you.
To begin with, let me draw your attention to a very important meeting taking place in Geneva right now, the Human Rights Council. Pakistan and Pakistan's ambassador to Geneva, Ambassador Khalil Hashmi, through the OIC, moved a resolution, and a special session is being convened, which will discuss human rights violations, violation of international law, and war crimes, and genocide, ethnic cleansing. All this would be under discussion and under debate. I am confident that Western democracies that believe in human rights will stand up and be counted. And don't just tell us what human rights are. They should actually take concrete steps today. And one of the concrete steps can be to draw the attention of ICC on the human rights violations and the war crimes that are taking place in Gaza and the West Bank, and what happened when a holy site respected by all three religions, Muslims, Christians, and Jews, was attacked on the 27th of Ramadan, the holiest nights for any Muslim. I'm sure they are cognizant of these developments, and they will take action. I'm also told that there is some proceeding already initiated in the ICC. I do not have the details, but there is something going on over there. Let's see what the Human Rights Council concludes today, and we can take it from there.
Minister was reading my talking points, so I don't have anything to add to that. I fully agree with what he said.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Anas Malik from Capital TV. My question is addressed to the visiting dignitary. Sir, we've got two persistent issues at the General Assembly.
Yes,
sir, here. Excellency.
Right there.
Okay, so my question is
So,
related.
sorry.
No worries.
I was thinking that you were waving hand to these beautiful ladies. So I didn't want
I'd
to
not want to do
interrupt.
that. I'd not want to do that right now. Coming back, so my question is for you. We've got two persistent issues on the General Assembly agenda. First being the India-Pakistan question, the Kashmir issue. Second being the Israel-Palestine question, the Palestine issue. We've recently seen that there were attempts to put off the India-Pakistan question off the agenda of the General Assembly. What would you, as the President of the General Assembly, do to either scuttle, stall, or would you want it to be taken off the agenda, number one? Number two, what is the way forward precisely on the issue of Kashmir and on the issue of Palestine? As the President of the General Assembly, what would be your role? Thank you.
Well, I think I tried to describe what the General Assembly can do and what the General Assembly cannot do. The problem is, there is a belief that if things do not develop positively or as a result in the Security Council, then the General Assembly has a role to play, which I don't think it is the case. The Palestinian meeting was held not because the Security Council was not able to come with a decision, but we had two opportunities. One was the emergency session, it is not closed, it is suspended, and each time you can open it from where it stopped. Or, like we did, we used the Middle East agenda item and we inserted into that. So it needed the two groups' application to me, and I decided to have a meeting. So the important thing is to convene a General Assembly when there's not a big political support behind it, will be counter-effective. That was what I was saying. If for the Kashmir issue there is a support and I can see it, then I will do it. But it shouldn't be harming the issue by having an unsuccessful meeting. So I think the first work should be done with countries like in the Palestinian case was the IOC and the African group, and then the NAM joined it. So we saw the clear picture, and without a resolution, with just a appeal to peace declaration from me, and with the statements, we reached a result. But if we have a meeting by the request of, let's say, Pakistan, and then we don't have the support there. So what I'm saying is, first it must come to me with a wind, and then I deliver. If you want the wind to be blown by me, I don't have that authority.
Thank you very
मैं
much.
इसमें एक इजाफा करना चाहूँगा और with your permission, Mr. President, I like to utter a few sentences in Urdu.
You're the host. You can do whatever you want. You can talk. I'm the guest. The guest is in the hands of the host.
देखिए अर्ज ये है कि मसला कश्मीर एक हकीकत है, कोई उसको झुटलाना चाहे तो झुटला नहीं सकता। सलामती काउंसिल के एजेंडे पे है, कोई मिटाना चाहे तो मिटा नहीं सकता। जबर हो रहा है, कोई आंख चुराना चाहे तो चुरा नहीं सकता। और मैंने ममासलत जोड़ दी है फ़लस्तीन की और कश्मीर की। पाकिस्तान ने अपने कायद आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्नाह के अफकार को सामने रखते हुए, उनकी बसीरत को सामने रखते हुए मसला फ़लस्तीन पर एक ठोस फैसला किया और तसलसल से किया। मैं सलाम और खराज तहसीन पेश करना चाहता हूं पाकिस्तान की नेशनल असेंबली को और पाकिस्तान की सेनेट को, जिन्होंने इस पर मुत्तफ़िका करारदादें पेश की। उन करारदादों की ताकत के बलबूते पर मैंने ये मसला वहाँ सेक्रेटरी जनरल के साथ और सदर के साथ उठाया और मैंने कहा कि आप देखें, सितम ज़रीफ़ी तो देखें कि मुमासलत तो देखें। चिंगारी वहां भी है, चिंगारी वहां भी है। अगर उस चिंगारी को आप नहीं बुझाएंगे तो मशरिक वुस्ता भड़क जाएगा, और अगर मकबूजा कश्मीर की चिंगारी से आंख चुराएंगे तो बर्रे सगीर पुरअमन नहीं रहेगा। अब ये इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी की जिम्मेदारी है कि अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभाए। मैंने जोड़ दिया है, मैं रिकॉर्ड पे कहना चाहता हूं कि मैंने 13 खत लिखे हैं, एंड करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, 13 फ्रंट सिक्स सब फरमा रहे हैं 13। मैंने 13 खत लिखे हैं सदर जनरल असेंबली को, सलामती काउंसिल के सदर को, और जिसमें मैंने पाकिस्तान का मुकम्मल मुकदमा पेश किया है। और आपने कहा, अभी आपने सुना कि सदर ने कहा कि ये एक डिस्प्यूट है जिसके स्टेटस को कायम रहना चाहिए तावक्ते फैसला। हिंदुस्तान ने 5 अगस्त के बाद उस स्टेटस को, उस पर ज़र्ब लगाई है और पाकिस्तान ने एहतजाज रिकॉर्ड करवाया है। कुछ आवाजें सुनी गई, कुछ मसलतन खामोश रहे, लेकिन मत भूलिए कि 3 नशिस्तें सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल को बादल नाखास्ता इस पर करनी पड़ी, और चाहे एनी अदर आइटम ऑन द एजेंडा की बुनियाद पर ही सही, वो नफी हो गई जो हिंदुस्तान प्रचार करता था कि यह हमारा अंदरूनी मामला है। दुनिया ने एतराफ़ कर दिया, और जनाब सदर उस बात का इआदा कर रहे हैं कि ये एक ऐसा मसला है जो हल तलब है, और उसकी निशानदेही यूएन चार्टर कर रहा है और सलामती काउंसिल की करारदादें कर रही हैं। अब हमें बैसियत कौम के इस पर यकजहती का मुजाहरा भी करना है, और अपनी आंखें और कान खुले रखने हैं, और मौके की तलाश में रहना है। और मैं पाकिस्तान की कौम को अर्ज करना चाहता हूं, मैं उस मौके की तलाश में हूं। हिंदुस्तान ज़र्ब लगाए और हम खामोश रहें, ये हो नहीं सकता।
will help in establishing peace and stability in Afghanistan, and to the UNGA President, Excellency, you talked about that UN forum should be made more effective. Do you still believe there is space for reforms in the United Nations? Thank you so much. This is Madina representing GTV.com. Thank you.
I will come back to answer the last question because it will take more time. But in principle, you're talking about the Security Council reform.
Yes.
And of course, it is one of the most lively processes going on. There are a group of countries who has different opinions: fast track, slow track, no engine, car, moving, not moving. So, but the whole process is lively, and I think it gives the opportunity to countries to express their views in these platforms, and they register it so that in later stages, no harm will come to their vision. So what we are doing is, this year we also had IGN talks. I appointed 2 co-chairs. They came out with a paper, and we will in June decide to move it to the next session. But in principle, the blame is on the Security Council. And I think this is wrong. I think we can solve the problem by increasing the capacity of the General Assembly. If we can bring the General Assembly into the picture with 193 countries as members, with the same spirit of the Palestinian meeting, then there will be a balance between the 3 organs: General Assembly, Security Council, and the Secretary General. Secretary General is an appointed person, and it has to obey, it has to fulfill the decisions of the General Assembly and the Security Council. So actually this is a reform. But this mentality, just saying that, okay, I don't have a duty because Security Council must solve it, and they cannot, so thank you very much, I'm happy with my... This doesn't work like that. The General Assembly must take its responsibility, and if it's not going on well there, then makes an announcement that I will do it if you don't do it.
then you will have the balance. That is the reform. Otherwise, that reform will go, the end you know. So it will be a good practice of exchanging views. It will continue for another decade.